Welcome back. Let's jump into this chapter from Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This chapter is called The Chameleon. That quote is something Trevor's grandmother actually said to his mother after Trevor got in trouble. Think about that for a second. It's shocking, confusing, and even a little darkly funny. But it also perfectly introduces the strange racial situation Trevor faced from the very beginning, even inside his own home. Trevor's childhood was anything but normal. He was raised in a black family in the township of Soweto, but because of his light skin, people treated him as if he were something completely different. One story shows just how different his life was. Trevor and his cousins were playing doctor when he accidentally hurt his cousin with a matchstick. Her eardrum was damaged and blood started coming out of her ear. It was a serious accident, and when his grandmother found out, punishment followed. But the punishment was completely unfair. His cousins, even the one who got hurt, were beaten with a belt. Trevor, the person who caused the accident, wasn't touched at all. Why? Because his grandmother was afraid to hit him. To her, Trevor looked white. This fear came from the power and violence of apartheid. Black people had been taught to fear what could happen if they harmed a white person, even inside their own family. Trevor's grandfather even called him Master and treated him like an important white boss. It was like two completely different systems of justice existed in the same house. So why didn't Trevor complain about how unfair it was, as he honestly admits he was just a kid, and as a kid, he quickly realized that the system benefited him. He had two choices: speak up and get punished like everyone else, or stay quiet and enjoy the advantages. It's a brutally honest example of how people often stop questioning a system when it works in their favor. But this strange situation didn't stay inside the house. The moment Trevor stepped outside into Soweto, his skin color made him stand out everywhere he went. People treated him like a local celebrity because they had never seen someone like him before. Some people even gave directions by saying, "Turn at the light-skinned boy." Kids would shout, "The white man," and run over just to touch his skin and see if he was real. Sometimes even funerals would pause as people stopped to stare at him. Families would invite him inside to eat, even if they didn't know him, simply because of the color of his skin. While everyone else focused on race, Trevor saw things very differently. As a child, he compared his family to chocolate. His dad was white chocolate, his mom was dark chocolate, and he was milk chocolate. To him, they were all just chocolate. So how do you survive in a world that refuses to think that simply? Trevor's mother taught him the answer: language. She believed language was a superpower that could break barriers and challenge prejudice. Trevor watched his mother use this superpower all the time. One day in a store, the owner told a security guard in Afrikaans to watch them because he assumed black people might steal. Without missing a beat, Trevor's mother answered him in perfect Afrikaans. The man was instantly embarrassed. But interestingly, he didn't apologize for being racist. He apologized because he thought she was the wrong kind of black person to insult. Trevor learned to use language as a survival tool. Once he overheard a group of Zulu men planning to rob him. Most people would panic or run away. Instead, Trevor turned around and spoke to them in fluent Zulu. Suddenly, everything changed. The tension disappeared, the men started laughing, and instead of seeing him as a target, they saw him as one of their own. This became Trevor's strategy for surviving. He became a chameleon. He realized that if he could speak like people, they would accept him as one of them. He couldn't change his skin color, but he could change how people saw him through language. Later, as apartheid began to fall apart, Trevor received an incredible opportunity: a scholarship to Maryvale College, an expensive private Catholic school. For a while, it felt like paradise. At Maryvale, students of different races learned together. Black, white, Indian, and colored students all wore the same uniforms and spent time together. Of course, kids still teased each other, but it was about normal things, not race. For the first time in his life, Trevor wasn't treated like the white boy. He was simply Trevor. But this peaceful environment was also a bubble. It protected him from the harsh reality outside the school. Eventually, South African society would force him to choose, black or white. That bubble finally burst when Trevor transferred to a government school called H.A. Jack Primary School. This was where the unwritten rules of apartheid hit him hard, especially on the playground. Officially, the school was integrated, meaning students of different races attended together, but in reality, students still separated themselves. Trevor was placed in the advanced A classes, which were mostly white students, while most black students were placed in the B classes. Then came recess. Trevor stood there in shock as the playground split into two groups, a huge crowd of black students on one side and a small group of white students on the other. He had never seen people separate themselves so clearly before. And there he was, standing completely alone in the middle. That moment forced Trevor to make a choice. Staying in the middle was no longer possible. He had to decide where he belonged. So Trevor walked into the counselor's office and asked to be moved into the B classes so he could be with the black students. The counselor was shocked. She didn't see a child choosing his identity. She saw a student throwing away academic opportunities. She even warned him that those students would hold him back. Think about how difficult that decision was. Trevor was being told that this choice could hurt his future and limit his opportunities, but he still chose belonging over status. He chose to be with people who felt like his community. And this final quote, it just gets right to the heart of the whole chapter. In the end, Trevor explains his decision perfectly. Around the black students, he didn't have to pretend or constantly explain himself. He didn't have to act like a chameleon anymore. He could simply be himself. And so, he chose black. This chapter leaves us with an important question. What truly defines who we are? Is it the labels society places on us? Or is it the people and communities we choose for ourselves? Thank you for listening through Chapter 4 of Born a Crime. I'll see you in the next chapter.
If you'd like more personalized feedback, writing support, and discussion sessions, they're available with me or with our selected tutors. All the details are here.